But I don't eat humans, Chase. I've never tasted one drop of human blood.
I leaned back against my pillows, pushed a button and waited while the automatic bed lowered me down again. When it was all the way flat, I stared up at the geometric ceiling. You can go home now. We're done.
No!
Esma threw herself on her knees.
Please don't do this. Don't break up with me because I'm a vampire. I promise I'll never hurt you.
I leaned up on my elbow and looked at her. A vampire I might have been able to deal with, but what I can't handle is dating a liar. You and I are over.
Chase,
Esma pleaded.
I was only trying to protect you.
I don't need your protection, I said clearly. I'm dumping you.
Chapter 2. Esma. August. The butcher counter at Whole Foods was a celebration of the finest morsels. Lamb chops whirled around in a circle with a bouquet of mint at their center. The pork loins were tied up with bows of string, and clusters of freshly ground hamburger bunched together like tiny balloons. I strode up through the crowd of shoppers at the counter to make my selection. Catching the butcher's attention was easy. I didn't have the voluptuous figure of my stepsister Morgan, but my long blonde hair, willowy figure, and blue eyes did the trick. I pulled my hair behind one ear and looked at the butcher intently. A few seconds later, I was first in line. "I'd like a half-pound of filet mignon." I tapped my finger against the display case. "And please cut it into bite-sized pieces." The butcher, a 20-something guy with curly brown hair and a ruddy complexion, worked quickly.
"Weren't you in here yesterday ordering the grass-fed buffalo cut up into chunks? Are you making pot pies or something?"
I gave him a chilly smile. "They're for my cat." He wrapped up my dinner in brown paper.
"That's one lucky cat."
He slapped the price tag on top.
"See you again tomorrow?"
I took a deep breath of the meaty air before walking away. "You bet." 20 minutes later, I was driving up Mount Soledad Road to the highest vantage point in all of La Jolla. Through the darkly tinted windows of my Corvette, I saw one mansion after another, some tucked behind private security gates and sheltered driveways, others built as close to the property line as the city code allowed. Dad and I had lived in the house at the top for the past 4 years. Before that, we moved around San Diego a lot. He and my mom had split up when I'd been 8 years old. The three of us had moved to California when I'd been a baby, and my parents had sought a new life away from war-torn Bosnia. My brother Darius was the only one of us born on American soil. Thinking about Mom and Darius crushed my heart. A few months ago, at my senior prom, they'd staged a massacre that had led to the deaths of over 50 of my fellow classmates. Now Mom was in Munich paying for her crimes, and Darius was in Bosnia at a rehabilitation center that was his last chance for growing up and living a normal life. Okay, it might be more accurate to say a normal-ish life. After all, we were a family of vampires. I pressed the remote control, and the enormous gate at the front of our house swung open. Queen Anne palm trees lined the driveway leading up to our 3-story mansion. I pressed another button for the 6-car garage. Susan's Dodge Durango was parked at the far side, but that didn't mean she was home. Dad had bought my new stepmother Alexis as a wedding present, but she refused to get rid of her old car. Susan told me she intended to sell it to her daughter Morgan, someday when Morgan's Subaru died. I didn't bother arguing, even though I was sure Morgan's dad would give her a new car if she needed one. The rest of the garage was empty. I put on the parking brake, grabbed my purchases, and gently shut the door to my Corvette. But I didn't go into the house. Instead, I kept on my sunglasses and walked back outside. It was a short 5-minute walk to reach my destination. 3 houses away from us lived my new friend Cassandra. Her family, the Zanders, were slayers, and Cassandra could trace her lineage back to Abraham Van Helsing himself. Usually, slayers and vampires were arch-enemies, but Dad, Morgan, and I were Puritans. We rejected human blood and relied on faith and wholesome living to keep us clean. Not drinking blood meant I didn't have the same powers my mom and brother did, but it also meant that I aged like my peers. I was an 18-year-old who looked like a teenager. Darius was a teenager who looked like he was in kindergarten.